Hi, it's Kim and welcome to another process video for 49 and Market. Today I'm using the new Holiday Wishes collection to make which is a holiday Christmas collection, and I'm going to make a non-Christmas layout. The colours in this collection mean that it's really versatile for either Christmas or non-Christmas layouts, and I'm actually going to scrap some Easter photos using this collection. So I have 5 small 3x2 inch photos. Three of them, I have framed with the new frames, which are the essential key-lined chipboard frames. So 3 of them are framed with that, and 2 of them I am backing with the Picking the Tree paper from the Holiday Wishes collection, which is a white paper with some distressed text items on it, so I'm using that to back a couple. The background paper that I'm using is the Beacon of Light paper from Holiday Wishes. Now, I really like the long cluster of flowers along the left side and the small cluster at the top right, and there's that lantern in the left cluster and the bird in the right cluster, and I'm actually going to cover those up with the photos to take away that Christmas feel. And so the layout will principally be red and blue, which I don't think is too Christmassy. So you can see I'm going to put 3 photos at the bottom with the large cluster of flowers and 2 photos to balance that at the top with the small cluster of flowers. So this is a little bit different composition, but I've used the paper to tell me what sort of composition will work with this layout. And I think that utilising the clusters to determine where I'm going to put the photos has worked really well. So some of the photos I'm backing with foam, craft foam. You can use foam tape, chipboard offcuts, and some of them will have enough dimension. So the items that are framed have enough dimension, and the photos that are backed with the paper, I'm putting some craft foam behind them, because obviously with the chipboard frame, the photos have a bit more dimension, but I will say that the chipboard in the chipboard frames is very thin, so it's not adding a lot of bulk to your layouts if you don't like bulk in your albums. So the lace there is from the Holiday Wishes laser cut elements, and I'm layering some of a torn strip of paper from that Picking the Tree paper. So that's the same one that I backed the photos with. Now it looks white, but it actually has, excuse my dogs if you can hear them barking in the background, it actually has some light printing on it. Now the rub-ons that I'm going to use here, because you'll see that in the florals, those floral clusters, there's like distressed text that looks like rub-ons included in that. So I thought I would leverage off that, and I'm actually going to use some of the Vintage Artistry Serenity 6x8 rub-on transfers to extend that distressed textile rub-on to the side within each of the clusters. So for this bottom cluster, I'm putting it at where the end of the photos will be, and then in the top cluster, I'm putting it under the photos. So it will just bring some of that distressed text type elements from the floral clusters across further into the layout. And I really like how that turned out. Again, these rub-ons go on beautifully, and you can see that these rub-ons have shown up really well even on this dark blue paper, that they show out like they've been printed on there. So beautiful quality rub-ons if you are concerned about using rub-ons. So I'm going to put these photos here and I'm just gluing them down now. So I'm just using my normal glue, which is Art Glitter Glue. I really like this glue because it dries completely clear and non-tacky, and it's also quite strong. So the flowers that I'm using Florets and Nature's Bounty, a combination of those in Salsa, which is this beautiful red colour, and I think I might be using some beige ones too, but I'm not sure. So this chipboard says naughty or nice, and I actually think it works really well because these photos are some photos of some friends of mine and myself, and we're actually on a scrapbooking weekend that we get together and do regularly. It was at Easter time, and so we are enjoying chocolate Easter eggs where we bite the top off and fill them up with Bailey's liqueur, and then you drink the Baileys out of the Easter egg. They were super nice. I took some photos. It was really good fun. And you can see now that I'm just building up a floral cluster which builds on the printed flowers that are below on that background paper. I'm also using some more of the florals from the laser cut elements. And I'm just building up a little cluster then. When I build a cluster, I usually start with one large element. In this case, it's the large salsa flower, and then I will build out from there. So I've also put the leaves from one of the flower packs behind, so it layers up in that cluster. So I have the leaves, then I layer a combination of small flowers around, and the laser cut elements around that large flower to give that cluster. Also, a tip is I like to make sure that all elements in my cluster are touching each other so it holds it all together. And now I'm putting another cluster over on the right side of this bottom photo strip. I've trimmed one of the leaves off because it was going to cover my face, and obviously you don't want that. So I've just trimmed one of the leaves off and left the leaves hanging out from the photo and trim the ones off that would overlap the photo. And I'm sticking a couple of the new little florals down there as well, and creating a cluster that mirrors the one that's on the left side of those photos. So that's the other good thing with clusters, is when you're creating them to have similar elements in each of the clusters, and then it looks like they work together. I have some of the little buttons from the laser cut elements, that's the Holiday Wishes laser cut elements, as well as a tab. So I'm going to use that tab as part of my journaling. I'm just sticking down the photos at the top here, and I'll also add the rub-ons. So the rub-ons again is the Vintage Artistry Serenity 6x8 rub-on transfers, rubbing those in underneath the photo to extend that floral cluster. And I'm going to use some more labels to give me space to add my journaling. Just adding a bit more glue to make sure that my frame and my photos stuck down well. Don't want those coming off later. And I'm going to, as I said, I'm going to use the labels. So I've got a couple of those. Oh, along with this absolutely gorgeous bow. So this bow is from the laser cut elements. There's a few of them in those laser cut elements. They are absolutely gorgeous. Totally love them. And I've got another little chipboard piece here that says love this, which I thought was really appropriate. Again, all of these elements except that rub-on are from the Holiday Wishes collection, the new Christmas collection. So I've got a couple of more little buttons. You can see that creating this cluster, I have used similar elements from the clusters that I did on the bottom row of photos. So I've got the laser cut flowers, I've got a chipboard piece, I've got some buttons, and I've got the rub-ons, and I believe I'm going to add a couple of more of the little flowers in as well. So as I said, when you're creating clusters, it's good to have similar elements across all of the clusters so that the layout is cohesive. So once I have these in place, I'm just going to start sticking things down. So that's a laser cut flower that I've stuck on the photo. There's quite a bit of empty space at the bottom of that photo, so it worked well to put the flower and to put a journaling strip. So that I can offset the labels, I've trimmed the end off one. I'm just putting a bit of foam on that, and then I'm going to put that on the layout. So yeah, you can see I've trimmed the end off because I wanted to offset it with the one that I'd put above it. And now I'm sticking a little button on there, and then I'll just work my way around, sticking the chipboard down. I just hold it for a couple of seconds. It just makes sure that the glue grabs and that it's not going anywhere, particularly with heavier items like flowers or, in this case, the chipboard. Light elements like the laser cut elements don't don't need to be held for too long because they're quite light, so they stick well and quickly. But the chipboard, because it's a bit heavier, I do like to put some pressure on it, and same with the flowers. So I'm just sticking down now a couple of the little florets onto this cluster, as I said, to have cohesion between the different elements. You can use a stronger wet glue if you want when you're sticking down flowers, but I find that for the small flowers in particular, the art glitter glue works fine. I'm just distressing the edge of that label so it just stands out from the background a bit. And I believe this is very close to done. I'm just checking my laser cut elements, and I'm pulling out a few more buttons, and I've decided I'm going to stick a few more buttons on. Sometimes with the laser cut elements, you'll end up with little bits of paper out the side when you pop it out of the background. So I'll trim those off if they're obvious. That's just what I'm doing when I pop those out. Particularly if it's going on a dark background where it'll show up. So just sticking some of those buttons around. And I believe that's done. I have some close-up photos showing now. And thank you very much for joining me. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.